we open to page 66.
A teenage girl, full of life, snuffed out on the very night before Halloween. This story hasn't been told quite enough. The year was 1975, and the place was Greenwich, Connecticut, an affluent, seemingly safe community where crimes of violence were almost unthinkable. Among the large ivy-wrapped houses and quiet suburban streets lived a 15-year-old girl named Martha Moxley. Martha was like any other teenager of her time. Blonde hair, a bright smile, and full of energy. She loved to laugh with friends, write in her diary, and she had that restless curiosity that made her want to be where the fun was. She was popular at school, liked by everyone, and her family adored her. But on the night of October 30th, 1975, the night before Halloween, sometimes called Mischief Night, Martha's world would change forever. It was supposed to be harmless teenage fun. Martha joined her friends for some mischief night pranks around the neighborhood. They egged a few cars, tossed rolls of toilet paper over tree branches, and laughed until their stomachs hurt. Eventually, the group ended up at the home of the Skakel family, their neighbors. The Skakels were wealthy, the nephews of the famous Kennedy family, and their mansion-like house always seemed larger than life to the local kids. That night, Martha spent time with two Skakel brothers, Thomas, Tommy, 17, and Michael, 15. Both were drawn to her, and there was a teenage triangle of interest, flirtation, jealousy, and tension. At around 9:30 p.m., Martha was last seen alive, leaving the Skakel property to walk the short distance back to her own home. It should have been a 2-minute walk through the quiet streets. She never made it. The next morning, when Martha didn't come home that night, her mother was immediately worried. This wasn't like Martha. She wasn't the kind of girl to run away or stay out past curfew without telling anyone. The next morning, on October 31st, 1975, Halloween Day, her body was discovered under a large pine tree in her own backyard. The scene was horrifying. Martha had been bludgeoned to death with a golf club. The blows to her head were so vicious that the golf club actually broke in half. Her pants and underwear were pulled down, suggesting a possible sexual assault. The weapon was quickly traced back to the Skakel household, part of a set that belonged to them. Halloween was cancelled in Greenwich that year. Parents kept their children inside, windows stayed locked, and the community that once felt untouchable suddenly felt like a stage for nightmares. Suspicion immediately fell on the Skakel bros. Both had motives. Both had been with Martha that night. Both gave inconsistent stories. Tommy Skakel admitted to being with Martha before she left, but claimed they only kissed briefly. Michael Skakel told several versions of events over the years, changing his alibi. At one point, he even admitted climbing a tree outside Martha's window that night, watching her. Despite this, the investigation in the 1970s was mishandled. The Skakel family had money, power, and connections. Rumors spread that the Kennedy name shielded them from scrutiny. Years passed, evidence was lost, stories twisted, and witnesses grew older. But the shadow of Martha's murder never left Greenwich. One of the most chilling details emerged from Martha's own diary, discovered after her death. In the weeks leading up to her murder, she had written about the Skakel brothers. She noted their jealous behavior, their drinking, and how aggressive they could be. In one entry, she wrote that Michael had a temper and scared her at times. Her words became a haunting echo, almost as if Martha herself had predicted the danger that lurked so close to home. For over 25 years, the case remained unsolved. It became one of the most infamous cold cases in American history. Then, in the late 1990s, renewed media attention, especially from true crime books and TV specials, put pressure on authorities to reopen the case. In 2002, Michael Skakel was finally convicted of Martha's murder and sentenced to 20 years to life. But even then, the story didn't end. Appeals and retrials followed, with claims of unfair judgment and flawed defense. In 2018, Michael Skakel's conviction was overturned. To this day, he walks free. The murder of Martha Moxley is not just a crime story, it's a Halloween horror story etched in reality. A teenage girl, full of life, snuffed out on the very night before Halloween. A quiet town forever changed. And a killer who, even now, remains shrouded in shadows, hidden behind privilege, power, and doubt. Every October, the residents of Greenwich remember. They remember the laughter of Mischief Night, the sirens on Halloween morning, and the chilling silence that followed. And for anyone who dares walk those quiet suburban streets at night, they say the pine tree where Martha's body was found still stands, its branches heavy with a memory too dark to forget.
The page is closed, but the nightmare stays.